Tara Whitney from Whitney Consulting. We write grants, tenders and business cases to help organisations to get funding for their projects. I wanted to talk to you about the 6 key questions that you need to address in every grant application. I've talked about it before, so I thought I'd go over what those 6 key questions are. Now, they need to be answered in every application, regardless of whether it is a really small one or a really big business case that you're writing. You need to answer these questions, and it may not be clear sometimes where they are able to be answered because the application form may not specifically ask it, but you still need to answer these questions or the assessor can't understand whether your project is going to be successful in delivering its outcomes or whether you are going to be capable of doing it. So you need to answer these questions. Now, the 6 key questions are why, what, when, how, cost, and viability. So why is quite an important one. It's about the need for your project. Why are you doing the project? Why do you need it? What is the demand for it? That all needs to be answered. And also, why should they give you the money? Why do you need the money in order to deliver the project? So you need to answer that question. The next one being what will you do? This is a very simple thing that sometimes is missed out. Exactly what will you do? Talk about it in tasks. So we will deliver these specific things and this is what we will do. And part of that is also the question of how. That goes to it as well. So how will you do it? We will deliver a report about a certain topic. Okay, well, how will you do that now? You've said the what, you're going to deliver a report. Now, how will you do it? What tasks will you take? Will you engage an external consultant who is an expert in that area to write the report? Will you get a graphic designer to make it nice and pretty at the end? How will you do it? What tasks will you take? And also under how is a bit about the procurement side of it. So when you say that you're going to write a report and you're going to engage an external provider to do that, how will you engage them? How will you make sure that external provider is actually going to be good at what they're doing? Will you just hire your best friend's sister because you know that they do that work? Or do you have some sort of a process in place to make sure it's done properly? How will you deliver the project? So that's another of the key questions, the how. Another one is obviously when. So when will you do it? And that links in again to the how. So each of those tasks that you've said you're going to do, how long will they take? And when will you do them? So that's a time frame. That's your milestones that go into it. So you need to remember that every grant application, it's about a project. It's about something that has a beginning and an end date. And within those dates, how long will each of your tasks take? When will you do them? And another of the 6 key questions is cost. And obviously this is all about your budget. So how much is it going to take to deliver the project? And that needs to be actually defined pretty well. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to deliver this report and it's going to cost $100,000 to do this report because it's a really big report. You need to actually show what that $100,000 is going to be spent on. So how much is going to be spent on the graphic designer to write the report? How much is going to be spent on research or project management? How much is going to be spent on the actual external provider that's going to write it, if that's how you're going to deliver the project? Break down your budget into some items of expenditure and ideally add quotes. So that demonstrates to the assessor that your cost question is very well known because you've gone and got actual quotes and here you go, this is exactly how much it's going to deliver. Give them an understanding. So if you're saying that you're going to spend $2,000 on project management, explain how that's come about. So how have you come up with $2,000? Well, it's a certain amount of an hourly rate for a staff member, and this is how many hours they're going to do, and that equals $2,000. So make it clear when you're talking about the cost and the budget, how you've come to that. Also make sure that it adds up because you'll be very surprised by how many times I get a budget and I do add it up and it doesn't add up. So make sure your calculations are correct. That's a big one. The last question is viability. And now viability kind of it really goes across all the others. So viability is about your ongoing viability. So whether the project will be sustainable. So if you are building an asset or doing something that's going to have ongoing impacts, then how is that going to be sustained? What will your income be versus your expenditure? How is that going to be covered? Is it going to meet it, or do you need to get external funding from somewhere, or will you as an organisation pay for the ongoing management of that new facility? So sustainability is part of it, but also viability is about how viable the project is and how viable it is that you are going to deliver that project. So this is when you need to talk about the capability of your organisation. So how can you make the assessor comfortable that you as an organisation are able to deliver the project that you've said? Talk about who your project manager is and what their experience is. Talk about who your board is and what their experience is. Talk about the past projects that you've managed that are similar to this one, and also any grant funding that you have managed in the past and how you've successfully reported and done that. So it is viable. It's also about the need. So when you've talked about the why and you've given it a very clear explanation of why the project is needed, that makes it more viable. If a project is needed, then people will use it. So it is more viable. So that's all a few questions, a few things that the viability covers. And again, it's also the fact that you've added quotes for your budget. So that makes it more viable because you've actually demonstrated and evidenced it. So where you provide evidence in your grant application, that adds to that question. So this is a very, very quick rundown of the 6 key questions. And obviously I go into a lot more detail in other videos. I also go into a lot more detail in a blog that I write, and I've written on this particular topic on the website, which is whitneyconsulting.com.au, WHITNEY consulting.com.au. But these 6 key questions are something that you really need to look at. So why, what, when, how, cost, and viability. Make sure you address them in every grant application. If you want more information, go to the blog, or if you need some help, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can book a call with me through the website, or you can send me a message through the website, whitneyconsulting.com.au. Thanks very much.